Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Hello, my friends. We are going through our life, not being aware what kind of a miraculous situation this is. Just to perceive something, just to feel something, just to see, to smell, to taste something. This miraculous connection of consciousness with the body, with senses, with the capacity to think and feel. It's amazing what is going on all the time, and we just take it totally for granted, overlook that miraculous process, and get all absorbed in our head stories. The story of me as a person, absorbed in the memory, absorbed what has happened 1 week ago, 1 year ago, 10 years ago. Often worried what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, after 1 year. Completely missing what is going on right now. That continuous flow of life, consciousness, love, the prana that is making everything possible, the energy at the base, the consciousness at the base, the love at the base. If we learn to bring the attention back to that, everything looks different. Nothing is so important. People are always so full of stress. Why? Because they think there are so many important things that they quickly have to do, and I'm overwhelmed. I'm not capable of fulfilling all that. Nothing, nothing is important enough to pull the attention away from what is really going on right now. If we simply learn to get that into our mind, to remember to turn the attention back to that. It's not that we are losing then the capacity to act in the world, to do our duties. Not at all. Even when we are acting in the world in the usual habitual way, most of the time the consciousness is not focused on that very much, but is going on here and there and to the past, to the future, roaming all over the place. And we still are capable of doing what we have to do. So don't be afraid that you are losing the capacity to do whatever needs to be done from moment to moment, from day to day, if you learn to bring the attention to that present miracle, to that present fantastic interaction of different levels, of that subtle, pure consciousness that forms into thoughts, that forms into sentences, that continuous, miraculous experience. The senses pick up something and transmit it through the nerves to the brain, and in the brain somehow this is interacting with the consciousness that forms pictures, that forms concepts, that forms an experience. Mm. If we learn to bring the attention back to that, then it becomes a playful, joyous song that is going on all the time. Nothing is worth, nothing is important enough that we forget about this. We think everything is so very, very important. We have learned from experience, from habit, that the role that we are playing in this world is very important. So many things are very important. So important that we're missing that which matters most, that which is alive. Here, now, you are alive. Here, now, something is so totally different. Here, now, is timeless. It's not the point in time. The point in time is always gone. It's always immediately the past. If you put the finger, it's past, it's gone. But here now is timeless. And here now is everything is alive. Everything bubbles with that force of life, with the prana, with the consciousness, with the love of life. What a shame to spend our time overlooking that continuously and being absorbed in our problems, in our dramas, in our stories. These stories, they come, they go. Things that we used to think are so, so important, say 10 years ago. Now we look back and we smile about the same things, but at that time they could really rattle us. Why? Because we took them so important. It doesn't mean we have to become unfunctional. By all means, be practical. Function in a practical way. What's the big deal? Things come, you deal with them, things go. Mhm. Sometimes it's a bit a nuisance. Often we are asked and have to do things, but we think it's complete nonsense and still we have to do them. So what? They come, we do them, we let them go. It's also momentary. It flickers into existence for a moment and already it's gone again. But that which makes the experience possible is not flickering. It's not going in and out of existence. We may forget about it. We may forget it about it sometimes, or we may forget about it all the time. It's still there. It's that which makes the experience possible. Without that, nothing can be experienced. Nothing is. This whole story cannot exist if that base is not there, if that fountain of life and consciousness and love is not there. It's not a boring new task that we have now to add to all our other tasks. It's not a boring, painful thing that we are trying to put on our shoulders to add to the burden that is already there. It's liberating. If only our mind can be persuaded that it's worth the trouble. That out of habit it seems a task, it seems an effort. Out of habit, that the attention always goes totally in other directions, and so it seems to be a burden, an effort, something that, oh God, I have to do that on top of that. But this is an illusion. We just have to learn to let go, let go, let go, and become natural and become light again, and let that burden that we are artificially creating and holding on our shoulder go. It is not a theory. We can live like this. We can at least attempt. We can at least start to consciously do that. And then start our days with the intention of remembering, remembering that we need not be so absorbed and worried about the things that are happening. Just bring the attention back here now. There is no pain. Here now, there is no suffering. Here now, there is no karma. There's just that fountain of life, of consciousness. And from here we can deal with things, and sometimes they are pleasant, sometimes they are unpleasant. It doesn't matter much. Nothing wrong setting the situation up that we can reasonably okay exist. If we don't get obsessed with it, it's no problem. The problem is that we are getting attached, that we are getting obsessed, and then in such a way absorbed that we completely forget there is a continuous experience of completeness, of fulfillment here, now. We just have to bring the attention back to that until that becomes stronger than the habit of pulling the attention away from it. And then it's happening by itself. Recently, somebody asked me in Satsang, but is it possible to come to a state that this is not more an effort? Yes, of course, it's possible. It's our natural state. It shouldn't be an effort, it should be natural, but with big effort, we have learned to do the opposite. And so that has its own momentum, that it makes us, gives us the feeling it's a tremendous effort to come back to that natural condition. We just have to see, learn to see what's going on, learn to see what kind of effort we keep on making to cover up that natural way of existing. To cover up the fact that we don't have to run for things, that we don't have to buy so many things, that we don't have to accumulate things, that we don't have to hang on to people or things in a way that we are trying to squeeze our happiness and fulfillment out of them. It's coming out of our own source. It's here, it's now, it's never absent. We just forgot. Even if in the mind it appears to be a new task, it's worth the trouble to sincerely go about it. And the more we go about it with sincerity, the more it will just start to happen by itself, that you find yourself in harmony with that effortlessly. Until the habit takes over again, there we lose it, apparently, but only in our conscious experience. We cannot possibly lose it. It's always here, waiting, calling, wanting us to come back home to that natural state. It has nothing to do with a morality, living a morally good life, so that after that we reap the reward. If we stop creating tensions, if we stop creating contradictions, automatically we start to behave in ways that people would say they are good. But not because we want to be a good guy, a good person, simply because it's natural. It's unnatural to create pain. It's unnatural to go around and hurt people. We are hurting ourselves, and it's unnatural to hurt ourselves. The traditional moral rules, they are not for nothing. People somehow seem to need some kind of directions, some kind of imposed limitations, because when one is too much estranged in the experience from the natural way of existing, then it is so easy to become destructive. It's not that we have to follow those rules in order to finally somehow get the reward after life in heaven or somewhere. It's simply those rules, they are there to help people not to hurt themselves and others unnecessarily even more. But if we start to turn the attention back to that source, we don't have to care too much about this rule or that rule. Just become natural. Live in harmony with that, and that radiates. Still, not everybody will be happy with you, no matter what you are doing, no matter how you are living. Some people will not be happy about it, but it's not that you are going out and hurting them. They're hurting themselves with their ideas, with their expectations, with their concepts, what should be, what should not be, what one should do, what one should not do, and then get sometimes very irritated if one follows not exactly their idea of what is right and wrong. After all, the experience of Jesus was all the time. He was doing things, and the status quo got always irritated and tried to criticize him and nail him down because you are doing this, and that is not the tradition, that is not what the scripture says. And he tried to make them clear, hey, forget about the letter of your scriptures, forget about all the details of your rules that you have created. Just connect with that essence, with divinity. That is so much more important. It's not a moral affair, it's simply to learn to deal with our possibility reasonable. Did it make sense? not wasting that miracle away by getting so totally absorbed in all of the ideas one has about the world and oneself, forgetting that immediate, direct awareness of that sense of presence, that source out of which everything flows. Let's live like this. Let's not forget about it. And even if we forget about it the moment we remember, no need of make a fuss about the time that has passed. Simply, okay, at that moment, reconnect. Reconnect and relax. Reconnect and relax. Mm. That is the essence of the practice. Then we can practice so many things, so many techniques, if we want to. Just don't lose the sight of the essence of it. They are helps, they are there to help us to make it a bit easier for the mind to bring the attention back to that natural state. Come back to pure consciousness, come back to pure energy, come back to pure love, and just relax in that. It's that's the job. And if we are consciously immersed in that and don't stand in the way by creating again new tensions, new difficulties, but leave the consciousness to itself, then the experience start to unfold and blossom all by itself. Hario, Hario, Hario. All right, my friends. Now I have been talking. Now I'm asking you, is there anyone here who would like to come in and say something? You're welcome to do so.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Dial.
It was very pleasant to hear from you now. There's nothing important than spiritual way. And I want to confirm it. Many times I go to Vipassana courses and I was without mobile connection in the silence. And every time I'm worried, oh, maybe this happened, that happened. How I will be without connection with all my business. And it works somehow many times. Even 20-day courses, 30-day course once I did. And in 90s I was surviving. Many people was surviving in Russia because it was difficult time.
Yeah.
And even there, even then, I went to India first time and stay for 1 year. And I also was worried how I can spend 1 year in India. And it's also worked many times. I just go to India if I'm somehow thinking about spiritual development. Other things somehow balance it. So I just want to confirm what you were saying, and maybe you can tell how does it happen. The God supporting us when we go into spirituality, when we forget about our worldly life, or how does it balance?
I didn't quite get your question because your connection was not very good, so it was a bit scrambled up. Is your question okay, how to learn not to take the things so important and rather direct the attention back to the source? Was that the question? I'm not sure whether I understood. Hoopla.
Okay.
Now no sound is coming at all, Kyle.
I was asking how the worldly things balanced. Hello? Hello? Hello, Werner. Do you hear me?
Just now I hear you. On the way, it wasn't wonderful. Try again.
Okay, I just repeat my question. I was very happy to hear now that you were speaking that nothing is more important than spiritual development. And I want to confirm it many times. I go into Vipassana course, 10 days, 20 days, and there's no connection. I in silence. I always worry this may happen, that may happen. But somehow it's okay. I can leave my worldly things for some time, even I go into India for, and it's okay. So I want to confirm that you said it's somehow worldly things balance. And I will ask you, how does it happen? God taking care of it when I'm spiritual development, or how can we rely to leave our worldly things for some time?
Aha. Now I get the question. The first part we did get in the first time, but then the question didn't get through. How can we then be
Okay.
so confident and not worry
Yeah.
about things when you go for your retreats or for something? How to have the confidence that God will look after it? Well,
Mhm.
it's a magic that if you really sincerely spend your time to become more conscious, to expand your consciousness, that somehow the other things are falling in place. But we have to be ready also to have challenges. That sometimes things are maybe not 100% working out as the way we would like it, and that we after that can deal with that situation, take the new situation in, and not be in regret that I wasn't there to look after it, or that we are not beating ourselves up. But okay, this is the situation and from there we can go again. But basically, the more you are at ease, basically, the more you are at peace and in harmony, things have the tendency to fall in place by themselves. But you cannot have 100% assurance that everything is going perfectly fine, but it's also not what is important. Sometimes things work out, sometimes things don't work out. So what is important is that you are here now, consciously alive, consciously conscious. And the rest is the part of the game. Sometimes things work out, sometimes not. you need not artificially create that confidence that a higher power is looking after my things when I go for my spiritual endeavors. But you can just have that confidence that no matter what is happening, I still can deal with it. It's not less important than becoming more self-aware.
Yeah, thank you, Werner. Yeah. And I'm going for 2 weeks retreat in the Vipassana Center after a few days. So I again leave all worldly things
Yeah.
and try to more spiritual myself.
Yes, and you leave it in God's hand. And don't
Yes.
sit there in Vipassana and worry about things. Huh?
Yeah, I will try. Yeah.
Right, and of course,
Yes. Thank you, Werner.
out of habit, thoughts will come, but then you can let them come. You can let the feelings, the emotions that come along with it, you can let them come. But then instead of hooking into it and turning it round and round and round, then redirect the attention and see what they are doing to your experience when they come, right in the present moment. And there you relax. And then if you don't feed them, they wither away by themselves.
Yes, thank you.
Hari Om. Hari Om. I wish you well in your retreat.
Thank
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? I think my connection is okay right now. I hope you're hearing me all well. Hello, Yosh.
Hey, um, yeah, so I've come to Dharamshala right now.
Ah, yeah.
Uh, I guess I just kind of had the feeling to speak with you and just to say, well, nothing in particular, but just to kind of ask um, about kind of integrating once you've had some realizations, or once some realizations seem to have happened, it seems like the mind comes back, uh, or can come back and just be very, I don't know, like very old, or some stuff I haven't encountered for a number of years was that kind of appeared. And fortunately, I guess because of my contact with many um, masters, or many people who have a high consciousness level, and because of maybe some of the practice I've done, though I wouldn't call it practice exactly, it hasn't bothered me as significantly. Um, but I can't really take the credit for that, I don't think. So anyway, that's kind of the topic I was curious about, or that's alive for me right now.
Mhm. Yeah, basically the topic, then what to do with the mind when it comes back in its old force and its old habits after after,
Yeah,
after a period like this. Mm. After all, there is no such a thing like a mind. There, It's not that we have to somehow find the mind and then tame it or kill it or do something. There is no such a thing. There is just that wonderful capacity in the human form to form consciousness into reasonable thoughts. And it's a tool. It's beautiful. If we use it where it's appropriate and put it aside where it's not appropriate. What is happening is not that there is a mind that is somehow like a different being, a different entity in us with which we are fighting all the time. It's just we have been using that capacity to think in certain ways so over and over repetitively, repetitively, again and again, doing the same thing, thinking the same thing, feeling the same things, that even if we are learning to detach from that, and sometimes for a moment or for a period, it's easier that the tendency is that suddenly the old habit comes back and wants to re-establish itself. Then there it's important that we learn not to take all that stuff that we are thinking and feeling so serious, but learn to observe it instead of being caught up in it. See when it comes, how it's influencing you, what it is really doing, how the pull comes to do things which you wonder, is it really a good thing to do, or maybe I better should leave it? That instead of too much deliberating, should I not, but simply bring the attention back to that present experience and watch the thoughts and watch the emotions, what they are doing, and learn to relax. And then in that relaxed state, if there is still the idea, okay, but I'm going down that road, I'm going for that, then go for it, but go for it consciously, not simply being pulled by the currents of habits that are manifesting themselves as soon as the environment is again more to their liking. When you came here, then you were a bit out of your usual circumstance, and then it was easier to detach from the usual habitual functionings. And then when you are more in a scenario that resembles more where you have been living before, then the tendency is that the old habitual way of functioning comes in strong again, just because the habit has their force, their momentum. But if we are alert, then we can learn not to be pushed along helplessly by that, but learn to see those currents, learn to see those thoughts, learn to be aware really of the emotions that come along with it, and see what they are doing right now to our experience. See what they are doing, what is happening in this psychophysical manifestation, and learn to relax. And then they lose their power. And you gain more and more the freedom that you can spontaneously decide, okay, here I'm going for it, going for the experience, maybe reap the fruit of it, sweet and bitter, but not as a helpless victim, but consciously. And in that way, every moment teaches us, makes us more self-aware, makes us more expansive if we do everything consciously. If we don't let the old habits simply push and pull us as a helpless victim.
Thanks. I guess as an addition to that, the way my mind has seemingly pulled me is to project into the future time, when I can do more, like postponing doing what, practice sadhana, meditation, this kind of stuff. And of course, I'm still um, what's extremely present for me is this kind of the process. But yeah, I guess I'm interested in the way that sadhana and practice can support the mind and the body, whereas I have this could be, you might think this is wrong, I don't know, but the my understanding is that the recognition of consciousness is beyond any kind of any physical or subtle manifestation. So any kind of sadhana we're doing is simply to support the mental and physical state, to kind of let us be open for grace or for God, or for kind of the development, or for that recognition to kind of just to happen. So I guess it's that aspect of it that kind of um, living in a way that's aligned with truth on a level of like the food that I eat and the actions I do with my body. Let's just like karmically, I guess. So
You're right. We cannot do anything. That is the difficulty for the mind, for the habitual way of thinking, to understand and accept. We cannot really do what I'm talking about, to be at ease, to be at peace, to be consciously conscious, to be consciously alive. We cannot do it directly, and yet we have to somehow do something about it. Otherwise, the old habit keeps on repeating itself for the whole rest of the life. That once the patterns are set, then till the end of the life, there is the tendency to just the same kind of mechanism repeating themselves over and over. So we can do that much, that we become aware that this tendency is there, and then consciously detach from that, consciously let it go, that we can at least contribute to it. There is still the support needed from another level, but it is there. But we somehow are asked to make ourselves available that more can happen. And we make ourselves available that at least we attempt to let go of the old stuff. We attempt not to go mindlessly against our will, be pulled into things that we don't want. We can make ourselves available that things are happening. We cannot do those things, but we can do something to increase the probability drastically by making ourselves available, by not accepting, okay, that's how I am, and I'm going back to my old way of functioning, and my mindset is like this, and my old patterns will come back, and then the rest of the story is just going to unroll itself very predictably. We can consciously decide not to do so. We can consciously decide, okay, I bring the attention back to the source, to myself. How much you are always successful with it or not, that may be out of your control. But whether you are attempting it or not, that's the game of this world. There you have a say in it. And if you use that power of directing your attention, then the sadhana makes sense, knowing the sadhana is not going to bring about reality. The sadhana is not going to create reality. It's already here. It's already continuously present. It's not somewhere out there at the end of a journey. It's simply that we have so covered it up that we are not aware of it. We cannot and need not make an effort to be, but we can learn to just be instead of being always attached to this and that and that and that, and there sadhana helps a lot. It gives you insight, it makes you more consciously, it builds up an energy that makes it easier to deal with things that otherwise seem to be very, very difficult to deal with. That we can more and more in a relaxed way see mechanisms, and instead of getting into a big story about it and how is it possible that I'm functioning like this and how is it possible that this is happening, just we learn to accept, oh, that is there, and deal with it in such a way that those things that are destructive, that they lose their power.
Thank you, Ariel.
Hario, Hario. Hmm. Is there anyone else who would like to come in? You're welcome. The subject that Josh has touched here is something that comes here again and again. Effort, no effort. Sadhana, no sadhana. What's the use of sadhana? Is enlightenment the product of sadhana? Can we bring it about with sadhana? There is a line, especially a very modern line of Advaitic teaching, who is always having the tendency to say, no, 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 it's already there, don't do anything. All you're doing is creating more problems. Even if you are doing sadhana, you're still doing, you're just creating more problems. Stop doing, stop being the doer. You are that. People who do sadhana then are being accused, oh, it's with your ego that you're doing that, and your ego is getting stronger. And of course, they are right, as long as we are functioning from that perspective, from the ego, from the I am this person, separate from the whole rest, then whatever we are doing, whatever we are not doing, is colored by that ego consciousness, that ego experience. And so they are not wrong when they say, when you do sadhana, then you're involving your ego, and we want to get rid of that. We want to detach from that. But simply by saying so, one is not detaching. Simply by liking a certain theory, a certain teaching, one has not detached. It's then easy to repeat. I mean, Advaita as a teaching is easy to understand intellectually, and then repeat the words. But what matters is that we learn to let go of that which stands in the way of the direct experience with that divinity. And simply by accepting that, not refuting, but accepting that you are already that, that helps, that gives confidence, that gives inspiration. But still, we have to go about the job of looking what comes up, what creates problems, what creates separation, what creates, again, more difficulties. That we learn to look at that and accept that it is there, and not somehow deny the fact that such things are there that need to be looked at, need to be worked on, and need to be abandoned. If we simply believe that, but don't go about it, not much will happen. Those who have that discipline to every day withdraw from the things, from the happenings, with every day simply go about it to connect and connect and connect again. They have a great advantage over those who are not doing so and simply repeating philosophies. Because it gives insight. We become even more drastically aware what stands in the way by bringing the attention back to the present and let go and relax into that peace. There are all these obstacles that come to the forefront. And we become much more aware of them, and by being aware of it, we can consciously let them go, consciously, step by step back, consciously relax them, detach from them. Practice gives a lot of insight that we become much more conscious of what's going on from moment to moment in our experience. Practice is not going to create reality. It needs not be created. Real is real, timelessly, prior to time and space. And we tap into that all the time, whether we are aware of it or not. So we can learn to be aware of it. It makes totally sense to spend every day some time where one is not busy with anything else, in one way or another, connects. And this builds up a certain strength that after that it becomes also easier and easier, even when we are with people, even when we are busy, even if there is a lot to do, that basically we are aware, but at the base of it, there is something that is not affected by it. That's prior to this. By all means, practice, my friend, but not with the spirit of if I do my practice properly, then after some time I'm getting the reward served. Every time you consciously bring your attention back, consciously connect, consciously let go, you are already rewarded for whatever we were busy with, whatever was so important and maybe dangerous or whatever. If we relax, if we see it, it's already looking totally different. Every time you do that, the reward is already manifesting at the same time. It's not that we have to have accumulated enough good points that something then eventually somewhere can happen. It's happening right now. And every time we indulge into that me, and kindle and nourish hatred that create more and more the sense of separation, every time we are punishing ourselves for it's always painful. Every time we let go immediately, there is a reward of feeling relaxed, relieved. Okay, is there anybody else who would like to come in? Welcome to do so. Everything can help. Just right now, a little squirrel run right beside me. That the Indian, well, actually, it's not a squirrel. They are chipmunks that with the three stripes on the back. And it's so beautiful. Just seeing something beautiful may help. Just perceiving something that is nice, hearing a nice music, seeing a nice place can help us to just relax. It's not that happiness comes out of that place. It's not that something beautiful makes us happy, but it may give the trigger that we are just letting go. Sometimes confronting something stunning, and then one lets just go. Wow. That we just, without knowing that we are doing, connect consciously. And don't think about the past or the future, or just in the experience right now. Everything from the moment we wake up till we go to sleep, every little thing can be used as a reminder, as a help. Connect and relax. Connect and relax. I said from the moment we wake up till we go to sleep, there are yogis who train themselves that after that in the dream also they are practicing. We don't have to go that far. It's enough if we are doing our job in the waking state, and then when one has to sleep, sleep. You have to learn to become aware what's going on in the mind. What thoughts that are repeating themselves over and over. People don't know, they are not aware of it. So it helps to become more aware, more self-aware. For that, practice is very useful. Every day to have some time not doing anything else, but just connect in one way or another. Connect and relax. This gives the insight. This gives us more awareness what is really going on in this mind, what kind of habits that have somehow come together to keep the thoughts and emotions going in certain directions. We just have to first be aware before we can let them go. In that awareness, one is automatically shrinking more and more naturally from ways that bring pain, from ways that make us suffer, from ways that cause suffering for others. Because it's not natural. And if we are more aware, it simply happens less and less. And even if the habit comes and lifts its head and wants to pull the attention in directions one doesn't want, if one is aware, one can see it. Okay, that pull is still there. So what? Here now, there is no problem. Here now, I'm free. I'm in touch. I am that. And then the personality is becoming just an expression of that. That personality is just the role that we are playing. You can hear this growth and just experience the experience. And you're right back here. Or we can hear them and start to put them into drawers. Aha, these are crows, and that's and that. And all my knowledge about crows, how long they live, what they are doing, go on and on and on, creating all our fantasies and think so much about it, then they become real, a real experience, or we can just experience. It's not the most beautiful of the songs of birds. So what? The sound can just bring us back home. Consciously hearing. There was a Zen master that was teaching to his disciples basically one practice. Just inquire what is hearing, what hears. And then every sound helps to bring the attention back. It's another form of self-inquiry. Instead of who am I, what hears? Because sounds are practically everywhere all the time. What hears? And the very simple inquiry just brings the attention back. Everything can be used. Instead of looking at everything as an obstacle, that is that spiritual thing, and there is that worldly thing, and all the worldly things, they are obstacles. We can use the experience, every experience, by consciously experiencing, consciously relaxing, and the attention flows right back to the source.
I have a question, Werner.
Anita?
Yes.
Ah,
Hi.
there you are. Hello.
Hello.
Hmm.
Um, Is there a difference between a child between, let's say, 0 and 6, 7 years, and a conscious, aware person, like somebody who is consciously conscious? Yes.
Yes. Yes, there is a difference. I mean, with 6, 7 years, usually, unfortunately, there's already a lot of corruption there. But if you think of a baby, if you look at them, there is just that spontaneity manifesting. They function like in bursts of of energy, not in thinking and brooding about what to go, what they should do and should not do. And then this is still there when they grow up, but slowly, slowly it gets reduced. Why? Because then we develop our intellect and start to think and start to identify with the personality. And in that identification, we losing that innocence that the little baby had. And we can gain it back. But for the baby, there is no choice in it. The intellect is not developed, so he cannot be distracted by the intellect. And then as the intellect develops already quite young children, then the distraction comes also in more and more. And we are being conditioned. You should be like this, you should be like that, you shouldn't be like this, you shouldn't be like that. And then after that, the personality forms in acceptance with whatever we are being told, or then in defiance and fighting against it. But there is always then that me, 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 me. And as the time is passing, that gets stronger and stronger. And once it's established, it has the tendency that all the energy is being directed into that. Going round and round and round. I, me, mine. And if you are learning to let that go, then you regain that innocence of a baby, that you can draw directly from the source and use the intellect where it's appropriate for practical things, instead of always being the judge over everything. The difference is that for somebody who has gone through that process and then liberated themselves from the tyranny of the mind, from the tyranny of the intellect, then consciously you see it's popping up, and consciously you can decide not to be pulled into stories. Whereas the baby cannot do that. It simply acts like this because there is that intellect is not there. And then if a child grows up, still there are much more innocences shining through, but it's getting more and more corrupted. And if the child has the good somehow karma or something, that somebody is bringing the child up, then this may happen less. But still the whole society is there and pulls very strongly. And we can learn not to be victims of that anymore. But then there is the innocence, the direct connection, the spontaneous expression of what is inside. But there is also strength. There is also the awareness of it, that it is so. That is the difference.
Yes, so it seems like it's necessary to develop the ego and the mind and everything, and then come back to the innocence and understand it somehow through the mind, translate it or so.
I'm sure there is a possibility in a three-dimensional world like this that is more harmonious, that it is not necessary to go so far into that there is just the awareness there is the possibility of that trap, and then learn not to be caught up by that trap. but in this present situation, as the world is functioning, it's practically inevitable that we are falling in the trap. And it's not for nothing. Being caught up in it and then working our ways out of it, that also brings a lot of benefit with it. Mm.
So it could be also a tool maybe to, instead of, for example, or another tool like asking who is hearing or who am I, to connect with this, the child.
Definitely. Somehow opening the heart again, because everybody had it. It's not that it's a few privileged had that. Everybody has come in that childlike baby state and then slowly lost it. And somewhere it's always there still. Simply we have forgotten. And if you can open up to that, that can be a great help. Simply, sometimes people have a bit funny misunderstanding and then they start to behave again like little babies. And that is and that is not the point of it. We just pull out that aspect that is helpful and you still can function like a reasonable adult.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. I've heard that long ago already when I was still in Switzerland that there have been groups of people who try to be again like the child, because the Bible also said you should be like a child. and, and they misunderstood it. They start to build sand castles again and trying to behave like babies. That has nothing to do with that. We don't have to become babies again. Simply, we can remember that beauty, that purity, that innocence that is there if we are not corrupting it by thinking about things all the time. That spontaneity that can bubble up from the source and express itself, manifest itself. And that can be as innocent as a baby's, even if we are, in spite of that, functioning like a rational adult being. We don't have to become babies again in that sense, that we become childish and stuff. I mean, a baby is also very moody. Wants something and screams. Screams with innocence, yes, but still. Wants something, doesn't get it, and screams. We don't have to start to behave like this. That doesn't bring it closer to reality. But that spontaneity, that directness, from that we can learn, get inspired by a baby or by a Mahatma who has found it again, but still acts reasonable. Is there anybody who would like to come in? Seems not to be the case, so let's again just be here a few minutes. It's best if we sit somewhat comfortably. That the body is not drawing too much attention in little places that are not comfortable. And then just be here, consciously alive. The breath flows in and out in its own natural rhythm. Here, now, we are all connected. There is no separation. Here now is pure, innocent, with pristine beauty. When thoughts come, we can see them and not go along with it. Let them come, let them go, let them here. Like sitting on the bank of a river and not getting pulled into the current of the water, just let it pass. Just be consciously conscious. This immediate, direct awareness of being here now. This awareness that is so totally familiar. Nothing can hurt the source. Prior to everything. Just breathe in and breathe out. Relax in your own rhythm. Thoughts may come and go. Just don't get interested. Don't let them You alone. Leave you alone. Just don't go along with them. They come, you see them, you let them go. We need not try to control the thoughts with force of will. Just don't get interested. They come, they go, but here I am. Bring the attention back to the immediate, direct awareness of being alive here now, of being conscious, consciously alive here now. It's ever new, it's ever fresh, and yet it's the most familiar. Something that has been there all the time. The sense of presence. The most familiar awareness of being alive and conscious. Just rest in it, relax it. And after that, when we go out or active again more, it's still there. It's never absent, even if we are again getting more physical, being aware the body is moving, being aware how the vital force is flowing in all the parts of the body. After that, when we get up and interact with people and are busy with our daily things, this base is never absent. We can learn to be aware, no matter what the activity is. Deep down, there is that ground that is not affected. Make that your home. Make that your base. Live from that perspective. And nothing can hurt you. Physically, all troubles may be there. Mentally, attacks may be there, but this is that safe haven. Full of vibrant life, full of joyousness, full of creativity. It is eager to express itself in our daily actions from moment to moment. I wish you all well. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.